Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. New business. Item number 1 is approval of a professional services contract with Navigation Electronics for subscription and protection plan renewals for Trimble GPS units. The total is $7,500. Kimberly, welcome.
Hello, how are y'all today?
Hey.
Good. Welcome.
So this is our annual subscription for our Trimble GPS units, which we use for pipe locating, locating things in the field, things like that. Also, it gives us some surveying sort of data as well when we're doing rough plans and stuff like that. So this is in the amount of $7,500, and this is split between 3 different water accounts for the different groups that use it out of operations budget.
Questions?
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 1 is approved. Item number 2 is approval of a minor public works contract with Edco LLC for water and sewer herbicide spraying. Total is $8,800. Kimberly?
This one is for right-of-way spraying for pipelines, and so this is with Edco in the amount of $8,800, and this is one is funded out of Fletcher's operations account.
Questions?
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 2 is approved. Item number 3, approval of a minor public works contract with Miscellaneous Metals,
Should've been
fabrication,
and fabrication,
sorry,
yes.
for lift station number 32, suction pipe replacement. The total is $19,470. Kimberly?
This is for the replacement of the suction pipe at lift station 32. This one is also funded out of Fletcher's operations account in the amount of $19,470.
Questions?
What is a suction pipe atlas? Is that what you said?
At lift station 32.
At lift. Okay.
Yeah, so this is part of the suction side.
I don't
going
feel
into
so
lift station.
bad that I don't know what a suction pipe atlas is.
So moved.
Okay. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Item number 3 is approved. Item number 4 is authorization to execute a permit with the Department of Rehabilitation Services Business Enterprise Program for the Blind to provide vending machine services for the City of Tuscaloosa facilities. Eric, welcome.
Thank you, Counselor.
Welcome.
So our current contract was with Coke, that expired. We went through, interviewed several different groups. This is going to be our recommendation moving forward. There is no cost to the city. They provide the vending machines throughout the different city facilities. We're actually looking at doing a mini market here in City Hall. Looking forward to showing you guys kind of what that looks like. So this is to go with the Department of Rehabilitation Services. This is the same group that does the one at E911 as well as the county courthouse.
Questions?
Even
So-
though the courthouse for years.
So this is what we're looking at doing here.
Really good.
It's going to be on the first floor of this building, right there by the elevator lobby where you enter from the council parking spaces.
And how do we decide on these providers?
We just interviewed them and the ones that could offer the best service.
Do we make money on it?
Not on this one. In
Do
the
we
years
make money
past-
on any of them?
Yeah, in the years past, we have gotten a percentage, but due to the pricing, we felt that this one was going to be better. It's also going to be on an honor system. What you see here is the interface where you would actually go choose whatever you're looking to purchase and then go and check. It's a self-checkout. So
When
we'll
you-
be
You wouldn't have nobody in there manage it, right?
correct. So we will have someone come several times a week to make sure that the stock is continually renewed so that things don't go still.
Are you gonna have a camera?
There will be several cameras.
When you say due to the pricing, what does that mean?
They can offer a lower price point than the other ones that we dealt with.
So we're offering our employees and city hall visitors a chance to buy
To
whatever
snacks.
that candy and stuff
Correct.
cheaper.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we're not making any money on it
No, sir.
because the prices are so much lower that,
Well, so it's just the way it's set up. With Coke, we were getting a percentage back, but there was also a third party that was doing the snacks. With this group, they can go through, offer things from Buffalo Rock and Coca-Cola, whereas each group, if you do Buffalo Rock or Coke, it's going to be limited to what they
Exclusive.
offer.
okay.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 4 is approved. Item number 5 is approval of professional services contract with TTL for survey and related plat work regarding the Tuscaloosa River Market in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Chad, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Crowe.
Welcome.
Thank you. Just to kind of, I think the agenda item is pretty straightforward, but just to kind of reorient the council to what this involves. You may recall, over the last couple of years, we've been working on a small transaction with the Army Corps of Engineers. On the drawing that's on, you can see a parcel that is outlined in blue that's about 3 acres. That is where the river market sits, and that is on property that is currently owned by the Corps of Engineers. On the left side, you'll see a parcel that is outlined in green, about 1.17 acres. That is property that is currently owned by the city, and the Corps of Engineers would like to acquire that property as part of their project that they're working on to build a new administrative office. So the transaction that we have been working on with them is to basically do a land swap. They would convey us the property, the river market property, and the city in return would convey the property that they need for their new administrative headquarters. We're still progressing on that project and everything, or that transaction, everything does look good on that. The contract that we are proposing is with TTL to basically do the field work and the survey work to survey out those lots, prepare the plats, and then take those through the Planning Commission to get approval to basically create the legal descriptions for the lots that we would need in order to exchange the parcels.
Are we aware of any long-term plans with regard to the Corps of Engineers there?
In what terms?
Well, long-term being long. Are they staying there?
Their current plan is to build a new administrative office on the empty space between their current administrative office and the basically terminal point of 21st Avenue. That's actually shown on that
Is that
drawing.
River Market right here?
No, sir. The river market is going to be in the blue crosshatched area to the right.
Here.
Yes, sir. If you look on the
And
left,
this is their headquarters, right?
that's their existing. I believe
And
that's their existing building.
This is the 1.17. Where is that?
Just on the
Is
other
this-
side of the Riverwalk.
Is this the old Bank of Tuscaloosa area?
Yes, sir.
here?
So here is Jack Warner Parkway.
Check.
This is the existing parking for the Riverwalk and
Okay.
the River Market. River Market sits here. This is the actual existing path of the Riverwalk coming across. This here is right now vacant land. I think the Corps of Engineers fence actually runs right there along that green line.
So there's nothing there, right?
That's right.
Right here.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Thought there was.
So Chad, we're swapping land to get the land that our river market existing, where we've got a lease.
Yes, sir.
So we're doing that to get the land where the river market is.
Correct. Currently, what we do is each year there is a license agreement that we execute with the Corps of Engineers for the river market on that property. I think the most recent renewal was probably just within the last 2 months.
Yeah, we lived there since.
Yes, so that one was just before the council within the last couple of months. This, once it's completed, will get that property titled to the city.
Do we own that parking lot?
Yes.
That long parking lot that runs from the farmer's market westward to abut where the bank building is there?
Generally, everything that is south of this line, south of this line right here,
Uh-huh.
is owned by the city currently. So
Okay. All right.
the parcel would pick up everything that is on the Riverwalk path, the river market, and all the way down to the end of the Corps' existing property line to the east.
So Chad, as of right now, I know that a lot of make sure I understood, you and I talked a little bit about this earlier today, but a lot of the stuff that was connected to that property that the Corps of Engineers own, a lot of that was moved off Tuscaloosa on the river down there.
I do believe they've moved a lot of their equipment storage off to a site on Joe Malisham Parkway,
That's
I believe.
right, off of Malisham, right there near the river.
Yes,
Near
sir.
Near the toll bridge is where it is.
Yes, sir.
Actually, but there's no, at least right now, there's no agreement to move the rest of that stuff. Like
No.
where there would be an opportunity for the city to have that land, right?
Not that I'm aware of, no, sir.
Okay. questions?
So we're just approving the survey?
Approving the contract for TTL to do the survey work so that we can create the lots, the legal descriptions for the lots to actually do the swap.
And then the swap would come to us?
Yes, sir, when it's time to approve those deeds.
Motion.
Second?
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 5 is approved. Item number 6 is approval of minor public works contract with Mobile Communications America for Fire Station 6 and 11. PA and antenna installation project. The total is $97,8770. Tim, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
So this is for both Fire Station 6 and 11. The cost at Fire Station 6 is $5,549, and Station 11 is $4,237. Those are both funded from the funds that are already allocated to the project budget, and of course, the project budget for Station 11 is grant funding. This work will install the actual antenna and radio equipment that will go inside the fire stations.
Questions?
We've got a couple of pictures here. This is also an update as of today of the current status of Fire Station 11 at Mercedes. That's the back side of the station.
Yeah.
And that is the front side.
Yeah.
Questions?
They're installing the antennas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And there's several
Is this
pieces
for
of equipment.
radio or phone or what?
Yes, sir. That's right.
Radio.
They're emergency radio where they receive all their dispatch calls through.
What FM, UHF, HF, what?
It's 800 megahertz, 700, 800 megahertz, what system we work on right now. So it'll be at Station 11, it'll be 2 base station radios.
Okay.
At Station 6, it will be 3 base station radios.
And that gives you what kind of coverage, do you know?
That allows us to talk from Mercedes back to the dispatch center. It covers the entire county and into Bibb County and Greene County as needed.
I don't have any other questions.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion approved.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 6 is approved. Item number 7 is a discussion of the city's input for the Woolsey Fennell Bridge project that has been, I guess, out there, asked for public comments that AlDOT has out there. So we wanted to kind of talk about this today and appreciate this opportunity here, Mayor, to do this. So
Thank you, Mr. Crowe, and I appreciate you giving us an opportunity to place this on the agenda. I mean, it goes without saying, the Woolsey Fennell project, bridge replacement project is going to be one of the more consequential infrastructure projects in the city's history. And it's going to have a great deal of impact across many different levels of service that we provide here at the city. For the past month, AlDOT has provided an opportunity for public input. And the city, through its respective departments that are represented today, have provided that input. What we wanted to do was share with you the input that we have provided AlDOT in really 2 hopes. One, that you will share this with our legislators, who hopefully will have some impact in ultimately how this bridge is designed, constructed, and how it will function for the next 50 to 70 years, hopefully 100 years in our city. And the second is so the public knows that the city has made these requests with this project. It also goes without saying we wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for Senator Shelby, who one of the last projects during his time secured the funding for this. And without TICRIC, who has already provided millions in terms of funding for the Highway 82 project that's going on that leads into the Woolsey Fennell design. So what I wanted to do is just briefly have the department heads that you see listed come up in the order that they're listed and touch on the 5 areas that we have identified to AlDOT as needing review and needing input from the city. So first is going to be jobs and economic development, because how this bridge lays out, how the roads that are around it are connected, gives us an opportunity for some further economic growth or to suffocate existing economic growth that's already taking place. Second is pedestrian and bicycle access. As we know, this is going to be what links our southern river wall, our northern river wall. Third is water distribution. This bridge right now is part of our water distribution system, and you'll hear more about that in a second. So how that is designed moving forward. Also our fiber capacity as well. The next area is the deliver of non-public safety services such as ESD and other services, because as this bridge is being constructed, you can imagine the impacts to traffic. And lastly is to deliver public safety in the area as well. So Brendan is going to start us off, and each department head is going to spend a couple of minutes just outlining what we have submitted to AlDOT. So Brendan, if you'll
Mr.
go to
Mayor,
the podium, yes.
Mr.
Here's the. I
I
I'm
know.
not throwing my bottle around, I promise.
Hey.
Does council, y'all mind if I point?
No, I think that's fine, but before we start, can I ask one favor?
Can you hand this
Can,
back?
can we give just briefly the facts of the allocation that Shelby got? And,
Yes.
and we've talked about the process, but
Brendan,
ultimately is the way the money is provided, Walt, that AlDOT has ultimate control over this, or, I mean, this is a normal process, I know
Yes.
that they get public.
And I actually ignored my first note in my notes, because my job was to lead us through this website. But yes, Senator Shelby I was able to get $100 million as a, they don't call it earmarking anymore, but it's basically the old earmarking that we've
Right.
done in the past.
Right.
The money, it's my understanding through AlDOT, has to be spent has to begin construction no later than fiscal 26. So AlDOT has really expedited this project. There's a current website that wasn't, if we can put it back on the board,
We're trying to get our maps up for everybody.
and we'll be able to show you a map. And there's also a link that will show you how the construction of the project will take place. We'll get that back up in a second. The website itself that AlDOT has created is really good. They're to be commended. So if you will go to sequence of construction first, if you scroll it to my right, this will show you how they plan on sequencing construction of this project. So if you'll click on that.
We just have a clicker that's moving. That's not actually like a mouse. I mean, Vicky can try on driving it, but I'm not on the virtual room here. I'm not.
Here we go.
That's what we need the clicker. There we go.
So if you'll hit play,
Vicky, run it off.
this is how the project will move forward. AlDOT assures us that they believe the majority of the time each lane of traffic on both sides, and there may be certain nights where that will be possible. The work on 82 that's taking place west and north of there fit into the overall design. already, start the economic development side of it.
Let's go to, not drone photography, I guess, not sequence, let's all product maps is back on this.
And we'll see if Richard can find us some European, dance music like that for future road projects.
Maybe
on
try
our
that aerial,
website.
Vicky. Let's try the bottom one. Well, I can work off of it and see if this will
I feel like I'm at a dance hall in Berlin or something.
Zoom make it a little bigger. Well, don't have the exact AlDOT map provided, but I'm gonna work through it, and I know this is something Council President Tyner has been very close with. I attended the public involvement meeting, as did dozens, if not 100+ others. Lots of business owners there. You had a range of issues from access management running through the entire portion of the project, management of access during construction, access being taken away. What I'm going to call to your attention is the comments I submitted to this area right here on Julia Tutwiler Drive. You'll note that area, Hampton Inn, and also Popstroke. Right now, you currently have direct access right here into that area off of McFarland. And AlDOT's proposed changes, the Julia Tutwiler Drive area would be cul-de-sac, and this would essentially be eliminated, and you'd be exiting further up. So all those businesses, lodging, entertainment, they also would like to note vacant property in the back would all either be denied McFarland access or have it removed after they've already constructed and built. The thing that concerns me about this, not only the public involvement meeting, but also too, our team was able to meet with AlDOT. The design engineer, the portion that concerned me, this is what I submitted in my comments. They were unable to provide the, quote, crash data that drove this decision-making in 2 different meetings. No numbers were provided, which I thought if that's going to be your decision-making tool, probably should have that data. Was unable to provide that data. By the way, I would like to note the regional office disagrees with their own design engineer. They'd like to say keep that open. That came up in the meeting. Several staff members there can testify to that. The other component is that the design engineer, I asked him, I said, well, okay, Ashley was in the meeting with us. I said, okay, what if we work with the property owner in our zoning group and we said, okay, let's change the uses of the area so we don't generate as much traffic, or do you want less traffic? The design engineer said, quote, I'm not worried about chip trip generation, which is your normal way you would assess something. I'm not worried about it, not even going to look at it. So I want everybody to kind of keep that in mind. No consideration to where if we want to modify traffic of what types of uses, what types of businesses, residents. And I said, well, should we just leave it farmland? And then you can just open it back up? And he said, I'd still close it. So there was no logic or reason or questions being answered. And I know that sounds extreme, but I think Ms. Kreitz was there, Mr. Thompson was there, Mr. Gardner was there. So we had 4 or 5 city staff members in the meeting that this is the answers that were provided.
So how would you get from the Hampton Inn to McFarland or wherever, or someplace over there?
Go do University Boulevard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's terrible.
I think that's a fair, you would basically have to block back around to University Boulevard or
And
block all around to Campus Drive.
Baumhauer's over there, the
Yes,
same
sir.
thing?
Yes, sir. Baumhauer's,
They're gonna like that.
Popstroke, Hampton Inn, and also any other, if the property were to be developed, any other new businesses.
So if you exited there, you could not turn back right to go to Baumhauer's, the Hampton Inn, or Popstroke.
Yeah, my understanding is they're actually removing the exit. It's just,
You won't turn in.
you just won't turn in. You'll just turn up later and have to block all the way back around to get to it, to Council President Tyner's point.
And there's another economic development concern too. The university has announced about a year and a half ago they were looking at a site for a potential arena in the future. Now that could be next year they begin, it could be 5 years or 10 years, but at some point that's going to be developed, a pretty large project for the university. We've asked AlDOT to take that into consideration as we're doing work in that area, so that it doesn't make any sense to let's doing this project and then once the university moves forward at some point that project, then that work having to be torn up or redesigned. So I do know, I think the university is also engaging in discussions with AlDOT on that as well. And that arena would be a huge economic development benefit for that entire area, and this is our one chance to get it right.
And we did discuss briefly some of the UA's intentions in that meeting. Obviously, Aldott is already engaging with UA, so we felt best to let them kind of work through the technical part, but I would say that they appear to share your sentiment of being more thoughtful of the design of the project. So my takeaway was the biggest concern from Aldott, and this was submitted in, is that the lack of information provided, the lack of consideration for business owners, economic growth, jobs, just general access. The other thing that was very striking to me is that the design engineer noted that these businesses were, quote, not impulse, which was actually not totally accurate. You may decide you want to stop by McFarland and get some wings. Maybe you need a quick place to stay and it's coming up really fast, right? Or, hey, kids are in the car, you want to pull over and go to Pop Stroke. These actually are all businesses that would be interstate centric from an exit standpoint, so I did not quite understand the reasoning behind that with no backup documentation. That seemed to be more of an opinion than an analysis from the engineer.
Brendan?
Yes, sir.
Is this next stage, is this in the next stage of McFarland Boulevard development after the bridge, or is all of this gonna be done, will this be done simultaneously, or is this
I'd have
another
to
project?
let Mr. Gardner or someone probably
I'm
more
curious.
technical. I assume it's all in one project.
So
I don't know
it
the
all
exact
continues
sequence.
once the bridge is built simultaneously with this, with the bridge project?
It's not only the replacement of this bridge, it's also the bridge over 82 as well. They've indicated this will be one project, and Mr. Gardner, correct me if I'm wrong, about 125 million.
Yeah.
But the replacement of the bridge, Jack Warner?
Yes,
The right behind, beyond it, the Jack Warner Bridge.
because if you're gonna be expanding out, I think the
You've got it.
bridge spans.
They're having to widen the bridges, so today, after you cross the river, there's actually two small bridge sections. And in their plan, if you're headed east or south, the first bridge you cross, they're totally eliminating it. And then the second bridge will be widened, the bridge under, that crosses over Campus Drive.
Is there not a train track under one of those?
The train track, it's been abandoned,
Okay.
it's no longer there, that's the one they're filling in.
I'm right there with you.
Any more questions on the economic development side? Because I don't wanna, I know we've got finance and 15 minutes.
I will say, and was able to connect to business owners, just to be more centric to Councilor Crow's area, you have a lot of access impacts as you get through this area. Was able to engage with some animated business owners along the corridor.
Sure.
I sent them to the correct people to go and discuss with, but there's a tremendous amount of questions in this section as it relates to access in particular. Sure.
There's a school over there too.
That came up, that they weren't a fan of the school. That's not my word. They're a fan of schools, but not the traffic.
I got it.
How about that?
It's unreal. Ms. Kreitz, if you'll, and before she begins talking about pedestrian bicycle access, we met as a team with Aldott about 6 or 7 months ago to discuss what we thought is a real opportunity to make this a connector between the northern Riverwalk and southern Riverwalk. Ms. Kreitz, she's been leading the city's efforts on the planning for this, so Ms. Kreitz.
I have, yes. And you can expect and understand my disappointment seems so personal. But I'm going to go with disappointment because you've got a group of professionals who, as an afterthought, quite frankly, tacked on a pedestrian connector across the river and ignored some plans that the city of Tuscaloosa already had for a riverwalk and to connect the riverwalk from the north to the south. So I've got my disappointment in my comments to Aldott were threefold. First of all, it's the bridge design generally. That bridge is a staple for the city of Tuscaloosa. So many vehicles traffic it on a daily basis. And you've got this opportunity with the expansive private investment that is bound to happen on the northern portion. So as you're looking at that screen, of course, north is to your left, and then you see that patch of dirt on the bottom left. That you saw what happened in Birmingham with the flyovers and the RGB lighting up underneath. You see what they did for even the bridge across I-20, or the I-20 bridge with the red arches. Well, I don't know that the red arches are necessarily something that we would need for this area. Creating a sense of place is an opportunity that I think we've missed out on in this location with the bridge design. My second issue is that multi-use path design. So I'm going to do some pointing real quick, and I know y'all can hear me. As the multi-use path has been designed, it is to track across this western portion. It'll tie in with our Riverwalk in this location here. So we'll have to build out to this portion, and it will tack on and carry across the western side of 82. It will swing along McFarland Boulevard, and it will tap out here at this beautiful landmark on the corner of Rice Mine Road Loop, which is fine if you like to get hit by cars. So right here, we have a beautiful landmark actually, and our Randall family trailhead. What is missing in this moment is the opportunity for the pedestrian connector to connect to the Riverwalk. Let's just let that sit for a second. Because we've tacked on, and the design engineer admitted in our meeting, Mr. Moore, others were there, that they would not have put the pedestrian connector on the bridge had the West Alabama Regional Planning Commission in 2020, while we were in the middle of COVID, having virtual meetings, voted to adopt a bicycle plan and pedestrian plan that casually threw a connector point on there. So thank goodness we did that. Otherwise, we wouldn't even have that point of connection. Part of the challenge I think we also have is that the multi-use path connector is not designed for people who want to use it. It has been designed for people that have to use it. And when you think about the fact that you've got folks, their bikes are the only mode of transportation. And if they have to get across a river, they're going to do whatever it is that they need to do that. Well, we've created this expansive network of multi-use paths. One day we will have 10 miles connecting from east to west, north to south. Those are folks who want to use it, and that should be our standard, and that should be the standard that exists for how this got developed. And so let's talk a little bit to wrap up as the connection point. Let's finish there, because right now, as I mentioned, it kind of peters out right there at the Texaco in that curve. So there are 3 curb cuts for that Texaco station right now. And where it just stops, someone will have to pick up the burden and build the rest of the Riverwalk connection point all the way around the Rice Mine Road Loop property, down into this portion where no one ever speeds or picks up speed or is trying just to get as fast as they can through that curve, to cross the street to access that pathway. So as your families are walking and jogging and out for an evening stroll, or it's a Saturday and you want to get your exercise on, you're going to have to play a little bit of Frogger to get across to the Randall family trailhead. So there's a lot of challenges involved in the way that this has currently been designed, and frankly, from a project of distinction standpoint, I don't believe it's hitting our marks.
No, I mentioned this at the very beginning. We met with them, I think you shared with them the exact date of the meeting, about 6 or 7 months ago when this project was announced, saying, we want to work with you. Please sit down with us and let us share, especially we were looking at that time as pedestrian bicycle pathway. And the regional office couldn't have
gone better.
They talked about ideas. This appears to be driven more out of the Montgomery Design Bureau than it is here, because there was no thought given to the tens of millions of dollars that's been invested for pedestrian bicycle access, and comparative to the cost of this overall project that could be done to really be something of distinction for our entire community. So we hope they heard the input they've allowed us to have. Okay? Mike and Kimberly?
So my 2 other colleagues have done a great job of pointing out the difficulties or the fallacies that we see. One other thing that we mentioned in the meeting with them, like Ashley said, we have pedestrians that are wanting to cross the river, not necessarily need to cross the river. We ask that they take into consideration what that pedestrian is going to feel, you know, when cars are going by them 55 to 65 miles an hour. They're going to be kicking up wind, they're going to be kicking up debris off the road, some type of barrier. If you drive along beside Indian Hills Country Club on the work that's happening on 82, you'll see a fairly significant concrete barrier. So we've asked them to do something similar to that nature that offers not only safety, but secondly, some comfort away from those elements. Can't reiterate enough, you know, Ashley's comments about how we're going to try to tackle our connectivity to our Northern River Walk with whatever ends up in this final bridge design. And I guess the only other final point I want to make, going back to the closure of the cul-de-sac of Tutwiler, is, you know, they need to analyze or tell us what's that going to do to loading, you know, changing the traffic volumes on Campus Drive and the intersection there at Helen Keller and University, because those are going to be the two routes that you've got to get to all that development over there.
So my piece is gonna be for the water line. We currently have a 16-inch water line that goes across the bridge, and we also have numerous large water lines that go along 82. So we sent a letter to AlDOT in April requesting that they allow us to reattach to the bridge, and they responded back and said that no, they would not allow us to reattach. So we're going to have to bore. The cost for boring, which obviously it's 100% reimbursable, but the cost for boring is substantially more expensive. But some of the issues and things that we're having is that if you see the pink line right there, that's the only environmental right-of-way that AlDOT has. And if you know these areas through here, so in order to bore a line that's this large and under this distance, you've got to have a massive bore pit. You have to be able to back up. Well, this is a cemetery, so we can't get in there to bore. We have all of this structure through here, these walls and stuff, so we're going to struggle to get in there to bore. And then where we're going to be able to come back up over here to even be able to tie in the water lines through this area are 16 and 18 feet deep. So we have those other set of challenges as well, that with just now getting some of the plans, I guess it was this past week, just now getting some of the plans for that, the timing of this being let in December and having to completely design all of this from a water standpoint is going to be very difficult. And so we're just now learning where the new bridges are going for all the different structures of the bridge are going to be sitting on top of where current water lines are. So we've got to be able to get out of the way in a quick manner, and we are not there yet. But that 16-inch water line that goes across there is a very important piece of our infrastructure. Not only do we have the 16 that goes across the bridge, we have the large mains that run on the, I guess, the south side of the river that run back and forth on that side that are also going to be in conflict with the bridge. So
Did they give you a reason for not allowing them?
it's just not their practice anymore. So they'll allow the fiber back on the bridge, but it'll be after the fact. So they'll have to, I guess the different fiber groups when we come back after the fact. But for us in gas, we'll have to bore. And so for both of us to meet, and we'll have to coordinate with the gas company as well for boring, which their lines aren't near as big as ours, but.
So are we gonna have a situation where some folks don't have water or sewer?
No, we won't run into that. We'll have some areas where we don't have quite the redundancy that we need. The volume won't be there that we would like to have for fire protection and things like that while it's out.
A period of time there that.
There'll be some period of time of not as much storage in the system, but typically we're ahead of these projects with the utilities, and all of our relocations are in place prior to the bridge, going under construction and whatnot. But in this case, we don't know that yet.
Glad I get to go at the end. Everyone else has already said everything I wanted to. So I do have some concerns with this. Well, so in my previous life, everything that Mr. Moore stated, especially about the cul-de-sac, is absolutely correct. I know that Mr. Tyner has worked with the property owners back in there. They have turned down some very large projects because they're waiting on the right one. that could be a huge economic, impact to the city. My main concern in construction facility and grounds is how it's going to impact the Randall Park, the Northern Riverwalk. We fought hard to have the connection under that bridge. What does it mean for that moving forward? But also, the ability to take care of one of our greatest investments north of the river. Something that everyone goes to, or not everyone, but a lot of people in Mr. Crow's district go to on a weekly basis. You can go out there at any point during the week, and there are going to be cars in that parking lot with people out there enjoying that space. Construction overhead, 50, 60 feet in the air, it's going to have an impact to it. I think we need to find a way to get people from the south side across that bridge on foot or on bike.
All right, I guess I'm last. So ESD has submitted 2 concerns. As you can imagine, most of ours has to do with the traffic impacts. We really hate to lose that exit to Julia Tutwiler. We actually service that magnet school for recycling. I know there's another way around the Helen Keller back up, but coming from either direction on either side of that bridge, whether it's west or east, we use the landfill out in Coker, and we also use the landfill 82 West out there by the Coca-Cola plant. So we need a little bit more, I feel like we need a little bit more confirmation on the impacts of traffic and ensuring those 2 lanes are going to be open throughout the length of this project. It could have impacts on our routing, how we service, especially the Alberta area right there at the Highlands, Beverly Heights, across the bridge right there off of Rice Mine Road. All those right there are heavily trafficked on Tuesdays and Thursdays by ESD, garbage, trash, and recycling. So our main concerns are how they're going to affect our routes if we need to go ahead and start planning to reroute our trucks. Of course, we don't want our trucks in heavy traffic. That it increases our ability to have accidents or truck breakdowns and wear and tear on trucks, adjusting for fuel costs for longer routes. So those are the 2 questions and concerns that we've submitted to AlDOT regarding this project. If I was going to pick one as the most important, it would be losing the exit right there to Julia Tutwiler. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
So, as we kind of wrap this up, when this money was allocated, AlDOT comes up, they listen. I mean, I know there was input. This is the plan that's been brought out. Apparently, a lot of the concerns we had were not addressed as a city. And I mean, so they take these comments, then they come back. Do they present something again for public comment, Walt? To see what they may or may not change based on these conversations?
I'll ask. I'm not sure what they're required to do under any federal dollars that they take. This past month was our opportunity to give input, and that's what we have done. We felt like we needed to publicly, and I actually emailed AlDOT about a couple weeks ago and told them we were having this meeting today, because there have been a lot of concerns. Certainly the business concerns, the concerns you've also heard stated about the water line as well, and pedestrian bicycle access. We hope that they will put that and look at modifying their plans.
Revise it.
And come back. They do want to move quickly. First of all, let me go back and say, this is a fantastic project, a fantastic investment.
Absolutely.
And what I've stressed to our local leadership is let's get these things right. Let's make certain we won't get another chance at this for 100 years. So let's make certain we get this absolutely correct. I'm hopeful they will take our input. Here's my fear. It appears that you have the Montgomery Bureau driving the decisions on this, and I would hope they would treat us in the way they treated the city of Birmingham with the great work that they did in preparation for the redo of the malfunction junction up there. AlDOT constructed a city walk for the city of Birmingham. AlDOT did RGB lighting. They went the extra mile, and we hope we would be treated in the same way as they did in Birmingham, because for just those little things that have been described here, this could be as Ms. Kreitz said, something of distinction. What we would like your help as a council is to please reach out to any legislators that you know, because ultimately they're going to be the ones who will have the most influence with ALDOT. I do think our local ALDOT leadership is supportive of us, but this decision, I believe, will ultimately emanate out of Montgomery.
Well, and it would be a shame to not take the community's concerns and make a serious effort at trying to do this, because, again, if the things that the city is doing and investing in, we've spent a lot of money and continue to spend a lot of money on connectivity. And we need to make sure that this matches what we're trying to do as a community. It just doesn't make sense to not do that.
Well, think about
'Cause
TCRIC.
it doesn't sound like it's a money issue, Walt. I mean,
Yeah.
if they come back and say it's a money issue, it doesn't sound like that. There needs to be more flexibility in that, because this is, as you said, we've only got one chance to do this right.
I think Hoover, Huntsville, and Tuscaloosa County are the only places that I know have made significant investment into ALDOT roads. We do ours through Tickering. We have been a partner with ALDOT as a community, and we hope they will treat us as a partner
Absolutely.
on this project.
And encourage council members to get involved in that, and also the public. I don't think it ever hurts, I don't care if it's after the deadline, to voice your opinions of what is important to our community, because again, we have one chance to get this right, and especially with the stuff the university's doing, that may change the total design of this for the next, 5-10 years, whenever there's a basketball arena built, because there will be a basketball arena built eventually.
Is there a number or anything you can share with us that people can call, email, anything like that?
Yeah, the deadline period has expired. I think May 31st may have been off the top of my head. But I certainly would just reach out to your local legislative delegation and just say, here are those concerns, and
Tell them how important this is.
it is important.
Absolutely.
And most of the things, the water line is a separate issue. That has a cost, as Kimberly alluded to. But the other things that were highlighted in the scheme of a $125 million project, it's not an exorbitant sum, and certainly is not what the type of improvements that we saw just 60 miles east of here.
Well, I appreciate y'all and telling the public and constituents, but really our city, what our stance is on this, because I think that's important and what we've asked for. And I hope, again, people will engage with our legislators. And again, it may be past the deadline, but I don't think it's ever a bad thing to continue to hear from people if there's a concern that's out there. So with that, any other questions for staff? I appreciate y'all doing that. Thank you. If anything else, not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a movement, Kip, and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.